Hey guys, welcome to Eat the Narrative, the place where mainstream myths get shredded and the truth hits harder than a press release ever could. In today's video, we have Kyle Kulinski explaining to Joe Rogan how a Medicare single-payer system will be beneficial for the American people and why other countries that are doing it way better than us. Kyle is going to break down why America is behind the curve on healthcare, how other countries are doing it better than us for cheaper and giving their citizens more coverage. So without further ado, let's roll the tape.
I want to address, because some people are going to hear what I just said about, Medicare for all, single payer healthcare, and they're going to say, yeah, but how are we going to pay for it? Because that's the common one that people bring up. Now, let me address that, because that's a really important question. And usually when you actually substantively address it, people go, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
How are they going to pay it?
So, very simply put, the way the system works right now, it costs more than if we had Medicare for all.
Why is that?
Because we have an unnecessary for-profit middleman that essentially acts like a mafia. So what we're saying is, I'm going to remove that mafia from around your neck, and you're going to, it's basically...
What is that mafia you're referring to?
That mafia is the for-profit health insurance company. So they have to take their cut as the middleman between you and your doctor, okay? If we just remove that, have the government at no profit margin be the single insurer, that's what a single payer means, they're the single insurer, then we actually end up saving $5 trillion over the course of 10 years. And that's not Kyle Kulinski talking. That's a detailed study from the University of Massachusetts Amherst.
Now,
talking.
That's a liberal fucking place. So what do you do when you have all these insurance companies? Like, what happens to those insurance companies? What happens to all those jobs? What happens to all that money?
The insurance companies go away.
Go away? I mean,
they go away.
Businesses go under. So you kill those businesses.
If I say... you're not allowed to cut your lawn, okay, unless, let's say the guy wants to charge you $100.
Right.
I say, no, Joe, I'm going to be the one who pays the person who cuts your lawn. You have to give me $200.
Okay.
So if somebody came along and said, no, whoa. Hey, middleman guy, we're going to get rid of you. And Joe, you want to cut your lawn? Give that guy $100 and you're all set. Wouldn't you say, well, that makes sense. The middleman guy, he can piss off. Because that's the way I look at it. The reality is when people argue for choice in health insurance, look at it like this. Would you say, hey, man, don't take away my choice when it comes to picking my firefighter? People are like, what do you mean? No, the way it works is there's a fire and you get help. End of discussion. They will come. You don't say, whoa, I want to pick my fire department. Well, this is the same thing with healthcare. The idea, you're going to be able to pick your doctor. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
But the idea of you'll have your choice between insurance companies, that's like saying, pick do you want the Irish mafia ripping you off or the Italian mafia ripping you off or the Jewish mafia ripping you off? Go ahead. I'm giving you choice.
Right.
In some areas, the idea of choice is fundamentally absurd. It's like saying, well, let's shut off the road system. Instead of being public, let's have it privately run. And you could make a left on that road, make a left on that road, or make a right on that road. Don't take away my choice of road. I want to pay for that one or that one or that one. No, it's all there. It's all free at the point of service. And this is the whole idea of having a public utility. There's the whole idea of having something that's off the table in a civilized society.
Right.
And again, what the studies show is it actually saves money. So the real question people should be asking is, how can we afford to keep having the system that we have right now? Because we pay more than the rest of the developed world, and we have 30 to 45,000 Americans that die every year because they don't have access to basic health care, and we have 500,000 people who go bankrupt as a result of medical bills.
Joe, in his typical fashion, took on the role of the curious skeptic. He wasn't hostile, but he leaned heavily into the conservative-leaning refrain, how will we afford it? It's a valid question. This line of questioning mirrors what we often hear from MAGA-aligned commentators and politicians. Kyle, however, did not flinch. He clarified that the U.S. is already spending more on our dysfunctional system than we would ever under a universal model. That's not a matter of opinion. It's a conclusion supported by research from institutions like the University of Massachusetts Amherst and numerous health economists from around the globe. To drive the point home, Kyle used an apt analogy. The private insurance industry functions like a profit-hungry middleman mafia. These insurers act as unnecessary gatekeepers between patients and doctors, siphoning off profits while contributing nothing of value to actual care. Kyle argued for replacing them with a single, non-profit, public payer system that covers everyone with no exceptions. The Congressional Budget Office has even projected that this kind of transition could save trillions over a decade. He also debunked the misleading choice narrative. The idea that we're freely choosing insurance plans is a myth. Most people are just picking between which company is going to deny their claims this year. Kyle's analogy? It's like choosing which mafia family gets to extort you. His fire department comparison also hits hard. You don't shop around for fire protection, you just get it because it's essential. That should be how healthcare is. There should be no profit margins. There should be one provider and one lane of payment.
So what you're saying is that it would abolish insurance companies essentially?
So there is one caveat to that, and that caveat is what's called supplemental health insurance. So what that means is if there's something that Joe Rogan likes that's a medical procedure that isn't scientifically proven yet, but it's still something that you like, there would be private health insurance companies that sell you supplemental insurance, which means on top of everything that you already have through Medicare for All.
So if you were getting like stem cell therapy or something like that.
Well, in an ideal Medicare for All system, and Bernie, believe me, has gone so far above and beyond any criticism. I mean, his thing is airtight. It gives dental, it gives vision, it gets everything. I wouldn't be surprised if under that Medicare for All bill, the stem cells thing is covered. But let's say something like homeopathy, which is like the horseshit, total horseshit.
You want to cover that by insurance?
No, Medicare for All would not cover that because it's so speculative.
So
and it's
private horseshit insurance?
Private horseshit insurance or plastic surgery, things of that nature. But that's an important point because...
Is that real? They have private surgery or private insurance for plastic surgery?
No. I'm saying it would be theoretically legal for it under a Medicare for All system because it's supplemental.
How could you have insurance for plastic surgery? Like, I decided my ears are too big.
So maybe the market wouldn't be there, but it would be legally possible is the point. So it doesn't fully ban private insurance, but it does bans what's called duplicative care. So you can't say, hey, I'm an insurance company, I'm going to come in and offer you something that's already covered in full by the single payer system. And the reason why that's there is we don't want you getting ripped off by some charlatan.
I see what you're saying, but it would essentially gut the health insurance industry.
It would make it so that you no longer have health insurance company CEOs making tens of millions of dollars off the backs of people while people die because they can't get health insurance. Yes, it would. And that's a good thing. That's a positive thing.
Joe's next question centered on the fate of the private insurance industry. Kyle didn't sugarcoat it either. Yes, Medicare for All would effectively eliminate most of the private insurance sector, and that's not a bug, it's a feature. To be honest, these people are ripping everyone off when they charge profit margins on their health insurance. Why preserve a system where executives make millions while regular people crowdsource money for insulin or chemotherapy? That's not compassion, it's market cruelty. There are other industries where these people can make profits. Kyle cited real-world examples from countries like Canada, the UK, and France, where different versions of universal healthcare have been in place for decades. These nations all spend significantly less per person on healthcare, and their citizens enjoy longer life expectancies and better health outcomes overall. And importantly, no one in these countries has to worry about going bankrupt because they broke a leg or were diagnosed with cancer. So Kyle's central point was unmistakable. Healthcare is about keeping people alive, not preserving profit margins. There is no place for profit margins in the healthcare industry. He also made an important distinction. Under Medicare for All, the government would guarantee comprehensive care, while still leaving room for private companies to offer supplementary luxury add-ons if people want them, if there's a market for them. Because if there is a market for them, great. People can get elective surgeries, elective coverage over whatever elective thing they desire. But when it comes to providing necessary medical coverage, that should not be up for debate. No one should die waiting for care just so a billionaire can afford a third yacht.
It's a good thing for us, but as a sale, like to sell that.
Well, the thing is, we have this issue where we have like a status quo bias where people think like, well, because it works how it works right now, therefore the idea of addressing it and changing it seems like so overwhelming that we just kind of default to how we have it now. But the problem is, we know as a matter of fact that the way we do it now is the most batshit crazy way you could possibly do it because they research this stuff all the time. They study this stuff all the time. And every single time they look at it, the U.S. comes dead last in the developed world when it comes to healthcare. So there was a recent study from the Commonwealth Fund. They found that they studied 11 different countries. The U.S. is 11th out of 11 when it comes to healthcare. So every other country that does the single payer system, which we were talking about, and there's different versions of it. There's multi-payer, there's single payer, there's private funding there's public funding of private insurance, public funding of public insurance. But bottom line is, any other way you do it is better than the way we do it right now. Okay? And just to be clear, because some people say, well, what about Obamacare? What was Obamacare? Obamacare was originally a Heritage Foundation plan, which is a right-wing think tank. So that was basically Mitt Romney's healthcare bill, Newt Gingrich's healthcare bill. And the whole idea was we're going to force people to buy private insurance.
Right.
And that's not, I don't like that idea at all. I dislike that massive. I've been very critical of Obamacare. I think there's a good case to make that it was a step in the right direction because anything was better than the system that we had at the time. But I would say that was just a little step on the path to what we should have, which is a Medicare for all system where healthcare is a right and not a privilege. We catch up to the rest of the developed world. And again, we should go above and beyond the rest of the world because like in Canada, I don't think they have dental covered by it.
They don't.
But Bernie's bill does provide dental. So, you know, I think that this is one of those issues where when it's fully explained to people, it's kind of a no-brainer and you can get people to realize like, no, the system is totally screwing you right now and we can fix it.
In one of the most compelling sections of the explanation, Kyle tackled America's cultural resistance to change. Pretty valid. He called out our status quo bias, the tendency to believe that whatever is familiar must be superior or at least too complex to fit. But when it comes to healthcare, clinging to the familiar is literally killing people. Kyle backed up his argument with research from the Commonwealth Fund, which consistently ranks the U.S. last among 11 high-income countries for overall healthcare performance. Not near the bottom, dead last. These rankings are based on critical metrics like access, equity, outcomes, and administrative efficiency. In plain terms, we are paying more and getting less. Kyle also revisited Obamacare, reminding viewers that it was based on a proposal from the Heritage Foundation, an extremely conservative think tank. That model was meant as a free market compromise to block more comprehensive reforms. While the Affordable Care Act expanded coverage, it still upheld the for-profit insurance structure and left millions underinsured. Kyle, echoing Bernie Sanders' proposal, advocated for a more ambitious and humane approach. Medicare for all, including dental, vision, and hearing, with no premiums, no deductibles, and no copays. Not even Canada's system goes that far. And remarkably, by cutting out profit-driven intermediaries and simplifying administration, this plan actually saves money over time. Well, guys, that's a wrap from Eat the Narrative, where the truth isn't polished, it's weaponized. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you really liked it, consider subscribing, dropping a like, and maybe a comment. This was the first video on my channel, so join the fam and stay tuned for more. Peace.